Hey, I'm Melody Davis. Today we're going to talk about buying versus renting. So welcome to my YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and reach out and tell me what you think. But we'll be adding content weekly for you. All the things about living in the Piedmont Triad and Greensboro in particular, because that's where I live and have lived here for 30 years. And so I want to talk today about buying versus renting because there's actually pros and cons to each that you may not have thought about. So if you decide you want to rent, which a lot of younger people especially like to do because you get to be footloose and fancy free, so they say, is you don't have to worry about whether or not the roof is bad or the HVAC goes out because you don't have to pay for it. There's actually a lot of benefits to renting if you don't want to be attached to a property long term because you don't have to worry about paying for the roof if there's a problem or the HVAC if it goes out. So that's a nice thing. The problem is most people don't realize you're actually still paying a mortgage even if you're paying rent. If you're paying a mortgage, it's just not your own, it's somebody else's, right? So you're not actually building up equity in a home like those of us who do buy properties because we want them as a long-term investment. So again, there's pros such as you don't have to worry about paying for a new roof or a new HVAC or a hot water heater. And you can call them and say, hey, I need you to come fix this. But one of the many downsides is the fact that you're not building up equity in that home, somebody else is. So when you walk away, you don't take any of the equity with you. You basically have just paid to live there, which is great, right? So again, renting makes sense for some people. In your rent, what is included is, again, what's owed on the property, HOA dues, probably management fees, things like that. That's all wrapped up into the amount of rent that they're charging you. So the pro is it's easier in some ways, the fact that you don't have to physically maintain the property yourself usually. What's hard about renting and what the con of renting, the downside is you don't actually own the property, so you're not building equity into the property, which is difficult. When you do buy a property, you are working towards owning it long term. And so one of the benefits, it has tax benefits every year. You're able to write off interest on your taxes, which is great. You're building something that usually appreciates. Homes in our area usually appreciate every year, and we've seen the market, especially in the past 5 years, go gangbusters where people are buying and then reselling 300% and 400% above what they paid, which is phenomenal. Doesn't always happen, but it's still a very great long-term investment strategy on top of dealing with, other investments like stock market. Unlike the stock market though, you have control over real estate, which is great. You actually can control where you buy, what you put into it, what you think you're going to get out of it. There's a lot more flexibility and there's a lot more advantage. There are more advantages to when you own something, and you tend to take better care of it as well. So again, pros and cons to everything, but definitely when you buy, you have the responsibility, but you also have the long-term benefit as well. So let's talk about when you rent, how much money you have to put down. Typically they require a security deposit plus a month of rent. Sometimes they require the first and last month's rent. So you're still putting a chunk of change down onto a property. Versus if you're buying a property, you still have to put money down. However, one of the many benefits of buying is the fact that there's something called DPA, down payment assistance, first-time home buyers. This also applies to people who haven't owned a home in the past 3 years. So there's actually a little wiggle room if you owned a property before, you can still use it. Where the government will actually give you money to help you buy a property, and even certain towns and cities will give you additional funding to help you buy in certain areas. So it's definitely worth checking into. And again, if you're relocating or thinking about moving to Greensboro, I'd love to help you. We can look into the different areas, but down payment assistance can go a long way in helping you buy your own home. There's also other programs where you can actually do 100% financing, which is also great. You will need some cash on hand, however, if you're deciding to purchase a home for things like due diligence fee. The due diligence fee is what allows you to actually put the property under contract, and then you can take it off the market temporarily to do your inspections, because you definitely want to do inspections when you're buying a home. So that pays the seller for that time period that it's off the market. If you decide to back out, 99.99% of the time, you don't get that money back. Now, if they failed to disclose something called material facts, then you can potentially get your money back. But so you're putting money down either whether you're renting or buying, but again, there's pros and cons to each. So if you use down payment assistance, it's great. Just know though, it has to be paid back if you sell the house in the first 10 to 15 years. But again, we can talk about all of that. There's lots of different programs. I have great lenders. We can talk about all the different ways, the different programs that they offer, depending on your age, depending on whether you're a veteran. There's all kinds of different programs out there that we can discuss. So again, if you're thinking about relocating and you are interested in talking about buying versus renting, I'm happy to help you. I will be totally honest with you. Again, there are pros to renting. There's also cons too. Again, I love real estate, so I can talk about it all day long and we can chat about whether it's best for you to buy right now or whether it's best for you to wait. So my information's below. Reach out. Feel free to call me, text me anytime, and let's chat. Thanks.